Hi, whether you are the family scapegoat or you have a difficult relationship that you just cannot seem to manage, or you tend to have a series of relationships where you feel like you give everything, you get very little in between, and then eventually it just burns out and ends. Regardless of the relational issues you're facing, I'm going to show you my simple model. It's called the Relationship Trust Boundary Model. I'm going to show you how to use it so that you can finally master your boundaries for good and live in peace and also maintain relationships. Hi, my name is Olivia. I'm passionate about helping you understand what relational trauma is so that you can prevent it, learn how to deal with it, move on with your life. So today, everything is coming from my book, The Relationship Trust Boundary Model. This is a model that is simple to learn. It is so easy to use, and it can really help you with the rest of your relationships. So I will put a QR code on the screen, and I also have a link to a full course on the model. And I'll also leave a card for the playlist that has lots of videos on the Relationship Trust Boundary Model so that you can get better at your boundaries. This model is super simple, and this is kind of the end of the series that I've done this last round. And I'm going to show you where you can get the PDF to this in the description. There'll be a link. This is actually just a printout of the model that's actually on the cover and it's in the book. But if you just want a PDF so you can practice, you're welcome to go and pick up one of those for yourself. With the model, we said before, those who are closest to us have built the most trust with us. And when someone has betrayed you or broken your trust, we pop them further out, and that can be emotionally and or physically. So to give someone yourself emotionally, that's just telling them what's in your head and what's in your heart. So it's sharing what you're thinking, what you're feeling, what you're dreaming about, your greatest fears, past traumas, most private experiences. The more you're sharing out of your mouth with someone, the closer you're allowing them to get to yourself. So that's only if they built a lot of trust. But what happens if you are close with someone? Maybe they're in that like family or friend rung, and then they betray you. First thing you want to do is sit with yourself and try to map out what is it that is, as I see it, what's the problem? So you really want to try to work through that first and decide, is this a me problem and I'm just not holding boundaries and this is just something that I keep doing? Or is this a problem where I'm not holding boundaries with them? Or there's just some sort of miscommunication and I really can't make heads or tails of what's going on. So you really want to spend some time sitting with yourself to try to figure that out. And then if it's safe, try to talk to the other person about what the problem is. That's usually the best. If it's a massive issue where they've really broken your trust and it's not safe for you to do so, or they have a pattern of like manipulating you or dismissing the problem or lying to you, and you're just tired of being hurt, right? This is the problem, because it really depends. It's not one set of tips for every personality type, for every issue. You really kind of have to use your own gauge to decide what's going to be best for you. So here is the thing. When we come from trauma, we want people to be all in or all out. Not only that, we try to sort of make every person serve the same role in our life. And that's not realistic, but we don't really know another way. So when they disappoint us, then we pop them all the way out of our life. So we tend to have people all in or all out, and we don't want to do that anymore. We want to learn to have lots of different types of relationships so that we can have a greater support system. But the problem is people are going to people, right? And when that happens, you can have disappointment, you can have hurt, you can have frustration, you can have betrayal, all those things. But that also leaves room for forgiveness and for growth. And so to be able to allow for that growth and that forgiveness, we want to maintain relationships to the extent that we can. So sometimes someone will have to go all the way in stranger. So you can probably imagine if someone is a stranger, you're not telling them very much, they're not around you, you're not seeing them much. And some relationships in our life need to be at that level. We need to have someone in that stranger level because the amount of trust they've broken is that great, or the amount of risk to safety is that great. So they just don't need to be, in the model closer to us than that. And maybe that's forever. So that can happen. But for kind of like your everyday regular misunderstandings or betrayals, or people got their stuff going on, and it's not that you want them out of your life totally, you just want to stop being hurt by them. That tends to be the issue. What you can do is learn how to put them out further in your model, physically and or emotionally. So if someone is physically out of your model further out, then you're going to be around them as much as you would that type of relationship. So you would see them during certain periods of time in that coworker run, or maybe if you don't want to see them often, just, very sporadically, then they could go in the acquaintance rung. Or maybe it's a family member. So this tends to be the most difficult boundaries to set in relationships. So let's say, for example, and you can go back and watch the prior video, but in the family rung, if someone betrays you, physically they could stay as close as family. So you can still see them at your parents' house. You could still see them at family events like birthday parties, Thanksgiving, Christmas, whatever event any family's at. But you can hold your boundaries and protect your right to privacy by only sharing with them emotionally to the level that you feel comfortable. So maybe you don't want to share anything personal with them. Then you could put them emotionally in the stranger rung. So this is the beauty of the model. You always have those two boundaries that you can work with. So maybe physically, yes, you're as close as family, but emotionally, I'm not sharing anything with you. I'm only keeping it to the here and now. What do I currently see, taste, touch, smell, and feel? So you're going to use your 5 senses, and that's all you're going to share with that person. Nothing about how you feel. That type of feel is just physically. Is it cold? Is it hot? Is the seat hard? Right? That's a type of feel, but you're not sharing your feelings or how you feel or your opinion or what's going on in your life or your children's life. You're just not opening up emotionally at all, but you could be polite, you could be pleasant, and only share with the here and now. And that way you can go to Thanksgiving and not feel like you're 12 years old, or go to Thanksgiving and not feel like you have to tell every single person what this other person did so they can understand why you're doing what you're doing. You could just maintain your peace, say stolid in your shoes, and only share at a stranger level while you're still physically as close as family. So hopefully you're beginning to see the beauty of the model. It doesn't matter the relationship type, doesn't matter the circumstances, and it doesn't matter what type of situation you're going to have to face them in. So what you can do is go to my website and print off a copy of this, and then you can chart on your paper the type of relationship that you have and where you want to place someone. So in the book, The Relationship Trust Boundary Model, it's available on Amazon. There's someone named Becky, and she has all of her significant relationships, and especially ones that you're struggling with. So the ones that you have the hardest time with, that just means they cause you the biggest turmoil. You have the biggest unrest with this person. You get the most frustrated, the most angry, the most hurt, the most disappointed, the most confused, right? So any of those type of feelings you're having, those are great ones to chart out on your model. And definitely don't keep this where someone can see it. This is very private. And sometimes you can do it and then burn it, or you can do it and put it on your fridge if you are in a place that you can do that. So what you would want to do is write someone's name on here, not for the relationship type, but the level you want to share with them. So let's say, in the book, she has, I can't remember the exact people off the top of my head. Let me just get there really quick. Okay. So on page 42 of the Relationship Trust Boundary Model, it's an example of Becky's model and some of her relationships. So for example, she has someone in her life who is her partner. His name is Jake, and he's a partner that she trusts. So of course, Jake's going to go and partner, and that's the level her brain knows to share at. He gets the most of her. He gets the most of her emotionally and the most of her physically. And then she has a sister named Sarah who has broken her trust. So even though Sarah's relationship type would be family, she wants to hold boundaries with Sarah because Sarah has, said that she was sorry, and they're working towards rebuilding trust. And that's the beauty of the model, because when someone breaks your trust, you don't have to keep them all in and keep getting hurt and feeling vulnerable and small with them. And you also don't have to just completely get rid of them from your life. You can keep them in your model, but only share. She chose to share with Sarah at a coworker level. So she wrote Sarah there. So now she knows, because some trust has been built, she can talk about shared interest and also how she feels about the interest. But any other private stuff like family and friend and hanging out to that degree, she's not going to hang out to that degree just yet. But she is going to maybe go to coffee, but then she's very specific on what she's going to talk about until more trust is rebuilt. So the book talks about 8 traits of a trustworthy person. And as soon as she can see some time with Sarah, where Sarah is more mindful, Sarah is more aware, Sarah is showing those traits of what a trustworthy person does, that's how Sarah gets more of her Becky. She gets more of her head and her heart and her physical body. But until that happens, she's going to maintain her boundaries, which may sound cold to some people, but the reality is, if you don't learn how to sort of move emotionally from a person who's been hurting you for a period of time, eventually you're not going to have a relationship with them, because it's almost like we can only take it for so long. And the problem is, maybe we tried to talk in the past and maybe that person really was sorry, but they didn't do any work to change. So what happens is, there is this thing that happens, we have a conversation with them, they really are sorry, and then instead of taking time to build trust, if it's family, right, they have the offense, they say sorry, and they go right back in that family, which means you are that level of vulnerable with them again, which opens up the door for them to, in their humanness, do the same exact thing to you. So you are now even more hurt. But when we put someone out for a period of time, we can see that they're sorry. We can see that it was just, a misunderstanding, or possibly they did do something, but they have learned and they are truly very sorry. When we go through the process of them slowly coming back towards us again, then what happens is we get to emotionally defrost and heal, and they have some time to grow without fully separating from the relationship. So that's a much healthier way to go. And a lot of people don't want to take the time to do that, or they don't trust that if I don't let you right back in, you're going to leave my life. But let me tell you, is it really the worst thing in the world that someone who's not going to take the time to work on themselves after they've repeatedly hurted you, is that really, something that you need to continue in your life? So again, hopefully you found this helpful. You can do that for every relationship you have. I would really say, especially the ones you're struggling in. And the way you put them on the model is the amount of trust you want to share with them at. That's the whole point, is we want to give our brain this visual idea of the level we're going to share with them, so that when they call you on the phone, you're mindful, okay, I'm only sharing at an acquaintance level. And if you get the relationship trust boundary model, or you go back and watch prior videos, it's going to show you what it means to share with someone at an acquaintance level, or at a coworker level, or at a family level. So again, you can find the link for this in my description. I'm wishing you all the best with your boundaries. Take good care, and I'll see you in the next one.